Did you know that foreign investors are quietly funding lawsuits in American courts through a practice called third-party litigation funding? Shadowy overseas funders are paying to sue American companies in our courts, and they don't pay a dime in U.S. taxes if there is an award or settlement. They profit tax-free from our legal system, while U.S. companies are tied up in court, and American families pay the price, to the tune of $5,000 a year. But there is a solution. A new proposal before Congress would close this loophole and ensure these foreign investors pay taxes, just like the actual plaintiffs have to. It's a common-sense move that discourages frivolous and abusive lawsuits and redirects resources back into American jobs, innovation, and growth. Only President Trump and congressional Republicans can deliver this win for America and hold these foreign investors accountable. Contact your lawmakers today and demand they take a stand to end foreign-funded litigation abuse.
Hi, it's Paige from Giggly Squad. Let's be real, cat dads are in their golden era. Temptations, America's #1 cat treat brand, is celebrating how seriously irresistible these guys are. They've got sensitivity, snack timing precision, and their cats adore them. Add in a handful of Temptations treats, and boom, you've got a certified cat dad. Show more love to the cat dad in your life with Temptations cat treats, and tag your fave moments with hashtag #CatDadSighting. You know we're dying to see them.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay. And you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. What does the term digital workplace mean to you? In today's world of AI, robotics, and AR, it's much more than an office full of people on computers. It can be anywhere from a factory floor to the top of a crane to the cockpit of an F1 car. Wherever your digital workplace may be, TeamViewer's mission is to make work better. How? By securely connecting your people with the data, expertise, or insights they need in real time to make work more efficient. By automating and streamlining IT and OT support to fix problems before they happen, to make work more productive. And by bringing all the possibilities of a secure and flexible digital workplace to all your people everywhere to make work more innovative. So discover how TeamViewer can make work better wherever it happens across your business. Learn more at teamviewer.com/workbetter.
This, my friends, is the Daily Tech News for Friday, May 30th. We're almost out of May 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up on context, try to help each other understand.
Today, Andy Beach tells us about how the NBA used AI to bring back a legendary voice, and face tattoos may be the future of wearables.
I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Huyen Twitdow.
Let's start with what you need to know about the big face tattoo. Scientists at the University of Texas at Austin developed a wireless, ultra-thin wearable device that adheres to your skin, kind of like a temporary tattoo. Not exactly. It's not like water soluble or anything, but, you know, it looks kind of like a temporary tattoo, and it is temporary. Best of all, you wear it on your face so it can monitor brain signals and eye movements. This is one of the big advances of this. They've done other kinds of sensors before. So if you are someone who follows this industry, we're talking about electroencephalography, EEG, for the brain signals, and electrooculography, EOG, for the eye movements. They then trained a machine learning algorithm, not a large language model, a machine learning algorithm to assess if the person is in a low or high mental load state. So they're trying to assess how stressed your brain is. Biomedical engineer Nanshu Lu co-led the development. Her team was the first to show that stretchable electronics like this could adhere to the skin comfortably to monitor electrical activity. And the team has developed, like I said, previous versions of this, like heart monitors, blood pressure monitors, even a blood alcohol sensor. The version for the face was the most challenging to develop because of the amount of motion when you make expressions and move your face muscles around, and the amount of sweat especially if you're getting stressed. Plus, the electrical activity from the prefrontal lobe is faint. It's a lot harder to detect than heart signals. The system uses a postage stamp size patch that is placed just above and between the eyebrows. It holds the battery, the processor, and the transmitter, and then connects to those flexible electrodes that stretch out to the temples and the cheeks and behind the ears. The electrodes are printed on carbon-doped polyurethane, which has a sticky coating that boosts the signal but also keeps it in place. They tested how well it worked by having subjects wear it and perform memory and arithmetic tasks, and the device reliably distinguished periods of strain from periods of ease, even as patients were moving their heads around and blinking and all of that. The next step would be to test it in the field, of course, have folks actually walk around with it on and experience more stressful situations. The why, if you're like, okay, why would I want to wear a face tattoo? This could be useful for aviation, military, surgeons, athletes, anything where you need to gauge mental strain, and then help not only the person wearing it adapt to that strain, but also help the people in charge of those folks decide when to reassign them because they're getting weary before errors become more likely. Something I would like to have in my pilots, I'll tell you that. And yes, Lou's team is working on transparent electrodes so that it doesn't look like you're a Maori warrior, and a patch that can be concealed in the hairline so you're not wearing a big patch on your third eye. When this is one of those developments that has the potential to become a new type of device down the line. I've always wondered when we would get implants for interfacing with devices, but maybe it's this.
I like the idea very, very much. Actually, wasn't there an announcement last week from Valve, like that Gabe Newell is like trying to find brain chips or something?
Yeah, there's a bunch of brain computer interface type stuff being worked on for sure.
Yeah, and I think this makes, I like the idea of it very much. I actually went into the IEEE report and looked at it. I think so it is a postage stamp sized device, but it also is, it looks like almost like a memory stick. It's pretty thick. So it's like,
yeah.
So I had flashes back to my childhood of when, cultural appropriation aside, Gwen Stefani of No Doubt would wear like the bindies on the forehead. And I thought, oh, well, isn't that kind of cool? We're into this like sci-fi field where everyone's wearing like electronics on their face. No, it looks a little bit like a slightly translucent memory stick hanging on one's forehead, but that's not to diminish like the capabilities and the technology behind this. I do actually think this is pretty cool. And I like the framing already of it being a tattoo. And something that, could be, interesting to wear, because I think that's always the thing as well. That there's, as part of the practical element is also maybe the human aesthetics element of it. So I just like the framing of it as a tattoo. I never thought it would be that way, but it kind of makes a lot of sense just because it seems less invasive. And yeah, I mean, I'm all for the applications of this because Lord knows some people in high stress situations could probably use a little bit of help letting themselves and other folks know, hey, your judgment might be impaired a little bit.
Yeah, the algorithm, if it's reliably trained, which it sounds like it is, could be like, hey, it's time for a break. Just knowing when to take a break is the important part. It's no judgment on you. It's like you're going to be better at your job if you take 5 or more at this point. And in high stress and high importance jobs, that's important. That's probably why they're saying, well, we could make translucent versions of these because some of those jobs aren't going to be tolerant of a face tattoo without a big cultural change. However, I'm kind of with you now that you've said it. Like, you should still have the option to be like, no, I want it to be in different colors. I want it to make a design, that would be kind of cool.
Could you imagine like a branded version, like say, I don't know, maybe a big airline, I don't know, United or American Airlines, and the wires draw out the company logo on the front. See, there you go. There's a brand, there's a brand identity idea for you companies.
I can already hear the pilots in the audience saying, please no.
Yeah, no, I hope not. But
especially when the company changes logos and everybody has to go in to get their tattoo replaced because of the new logo. Yeah. But I feel like this is one to kind of file away in the back of your head. Yeah. Maybe it never ends up being ubiquitous, but we're probably going to hear about it, especially because it's cost effective. This is not one of those, well, we got to figure out how to bring the price down. It's more about the aesthetics.
And I think that's another thing with the what we know as wearables today, whether they be watches or fitness bands or even like, it will even goes like AR glasses, is that, you know, for normal people in industry, they tend to be like cost prohibitive, right? Just because they're these little devices. And of course, the logistics of like battery and things like that too make them I think pretty interesting consumer devices, but maybe less so for actual industry where, you know, costs matter and availability matters. I think this is just really compelling. And also just would be a great application because like we already kind of know like the benefits of wearables for day to day, like health monitoring and even beyond just like, did you get your steps in? But, you know, like, you know, everyone's going for like glucose monitoring, blood pressure monitoring and kind of finding ways to make these things more accurate. So I can't help but see that this might come back around because especially if it can be concealed, if you choose not to wear your identity on your face or your company's logo on your face, that's totally fine. You can just have it hidden on the hairline. And it does feel, it has a very pleasant, like sci-fi feel, you know, like this is what we kind of imagine cool technology to be, is to be useful and also, I don't know, just well designed and all the things, checks all the boxes. So.
I want to talk to Nanshu Liu or somebody on their team because I want to find out if this could go the other direction. Could it also, you know, allow you to control things like a brain computer interface? Could it be powerful enough for that? Oh,
just similar to folks that maybe have like mobility or speech impairments are able to use eye movements. Yeah, right. I think that would be amazing because, and it's really interesting if you look at the pictures, you can kind of tell how it's able to measure eye movements because of the way that the kind of tattoo wraps around your faces. It could be, I could see that, and also probably be a lot more subtle as well, since it is, I mean, if you imagine like, it's probably mostly imperceptible when you are stressed out and your eyes are moving in a way that the ML can pick up. It probably could be much more expressive or useful interface for those kind of applications. I love that idea. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's capable of that or not, but you know, I would love to find out. And it certainly seems like it could be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll have to wait and see. So again, file it off in your mind palace and bring it back around again when we start, you know, waiting for Apple to release their
when Apple
eye tattoo,
the face tattoo.
The face
can be
tattoo.
Like, I heard about this.
I heard about it on DTS. They helped me understand before it was even a thing. Well, DTNS is made possible by you, the listener. We want to thank Paul Reese, Tim Deputy, Brandon Brooks, as well as welcome new patron Jerome. Welcome.
Yay.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Did you know that foreign investors are quietly funding lawsuits in American courts through a practice called third-party litigation funding? Shadowy overseas funders are paying to sue American companies in our courts, and they don't pay a dime in U.S. taxes if there is an award or settlement. They profit tax-free from our legal system, while U.S. companies are tied up in court, and American families pay the price, to the tune of $5,000 a year. But there is a solution. A new proposal before Congress would close this loophole and ensure these foreign investors pay taxes, just like the actual plaintiffs have to. It's a common sense move that discourages frivolous and abusive lawsuits and redirects resources back into American jobs, innovation, and growth. Only President Trump and congressional Republicans can deliver this win for America and hold these foreign investors accountable. Contact your lawmakers today and demand they take a stand to end foreign-funded litigation abuse.
Hey, it's Paige from Giggly Squad. Let's talk about an elite green flag being a cat dad. Temptations, America's #1 cat treat brand, is making 2025 the year of the cat dad, and honestly, about time. Whether he's coordinating snack time with the meow schedule or just vibing with his tabby, Temptation treats make cat dads even more irresistible to their cats and to us. For more information about Temptation's brand Cat Dads or to learn more about the brand, visit temptationtreats.com. And don't forget to share your own #CatDad sightings on social. We'll be scrolling.
Worried about what ingredients are hiding in your groceries? Let us take the guesswork out. We're Thrive Market, the online grocery store with the highest quality standards in the industry. We restrict 1,000 plus ingredients, so you can trust that you'll only find the best high-quality, organic, and sustainable brands, all free of the junk. With savings up to 30% off and fast carbon-neutral shipping, you get top trusted groceries at your door, and you can stop worrying about what your kids get their hands on. Start shopping at thrivemarket.com/podcast for 30% off your first order and a free gift.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
There's more we need to know that doesn't involve your face. Let's get to the briefs.
Well, Windows Central sources say that Microsoft has sidelined development of its own handheld gaming device. Microsoft's Phil Spencer has reportedly dropped hints about a handheld going back as far as 2017. And earlier this year, Windows Central reported that Microsoft would work with a third party on a Xbox branded portable codenamed Keenan to come out this year with a device made by Microsoft to launch in 2027. However, Windows Central sources now say the company will focus on improving Windows 11 gaming performance, specifically for the Asus partner device, Project Keenan. So that is still on track to launch later this year. And Microsoft hasn't ended the first party project, just moved it down the priority list a little bit. So it may not arrive in 2027. That makes sense as Microsoft gets increased competition from SteamOS on handhelds and faces some criticisms about its gaming stability.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that Microsoft is focusing on polishing up Windows for gaming for various reasons, not even just on a handheld. And certainly the competition from SteamOS is lighting a fire under them. The important takeaway that I want to emphasize is it doesn't sound like they're not going to do this. It's just they're prioritizing some other things. So I don't know, maybe they'll get it together and be able to put it out in 2027. But the priority is the software side, and they've got third-party partners who can put out things that are designed and be Xbox branded, and we'll see that by the end of this year.
It always feels like, I don't know, just more of a safer strategy for like larger companies as well, because hardware seems just like a very risky, imposition, especially with like the manufacturing side of it. Software is not risky, but you don't have that hardware element. So it makes kind of a lot of sense, especially for like companies like Microsoft that are good at the software to, more partner with hardware. People kind of not dissimilarly to like what Google is doing with Android XR. Sorry, Android person, have to mention Android, but like just the idea that, okay, we do what we're good at, and then we can kind of like work with people that do well on the hardware side, but not to say that they're not going to like be like, but we'll also do one of our own as well down the future. But I don't know, it just makes sense to me.
No, it's a really good point. And that's why Hugging Face is saying, hold my beer, because the developers of open source generative models just released 2 new humanoid robots. So not just hardware, but robots. They're called Hope JR and Reachy Mini. Hope JR is a full-size robot, 66 actuated degrees of freedom, so it can walk, it can move its arms, it can pick up objects. And then Reachy Mini is a desktop robot, so it can move its head, talk, and listen. The waitlist is open. If you want to sign up to try to buy one of these, they hope to ship the first few units by the end of the year, but there's no firm date yet, so it might be slipping to next year. We'll see. Prices are also rough right now. They say they Hope JR will cost around $3,000, and that Reachy Mini would be more like $250 to $300. The hardware is open source though, so you can build one yourself or rebuild the one you buy.
As someone who just started the show Murderbot, I would encourage anyone that does build your own robot to treat it with empathy. Yes. Just in case.
Yeah. And don't let it hack its governor module.
Yeah, please no. Yes. Maybe just let yourself be, software control is very important. YouTube announced Thursday that Google Lens will be available for YouTube Shorts in the coming weeks. That means that if you're watching a short, you can pause the video, select Lens, and draw a circle around or tap on the item in the video you want to identify and do searches based on it. Once you're done, you can go back to the short.
Well, that's sort of useful. I don't know how many times I've been watching a short where I wish I could search from it, but I bet people have. So.
Oh no, I have. I have done this many times.
Yeah.
Like whether it's like a cooking video and I'd be like, what is that pan? Or I don't know, like what is that? Like, I don't know, what is that game? What is that headset? Like all kinds of stuff like this, Now
that you say that, I definitely have been like, ooh, what's that shirt? Or something like that. So maybe I have, and I just wasn't realizing it. Or maybe I'm just putting off this next bit because yesterday we mentioned the court-ordered pause on U.S. tariffs. So today we have to mention the appeals court pause of the pause. This does not overrule the trade court's ruling that we talked about yesterday. It just pauses that ruling while the government pursues a full appeal. The U.S. Congress has the power to set tariffs, not the president. But there are some congressionally granted exceptions where the president may do so. The trade court ruled yesterday that they had not met the criteria for those situations, and therefore the tariffs could not go in place. However, the appeals court said, let's leave them in place while we decide whether we agree on this. So the tariffs remain in place for now.
It's the tariff hokey pokey. Put the tariffs on.
Your 50% in. You put your
50% out. You put your 50% in, and then
you
raise
leave
it
your
lower.
stuff in port.
Oh my God! Sorry. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright, along with executives from Dell and the CEO of NVIDIA, announced a new supercomputer will be built at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory in Berkeley. The computer will be named after Nobel Prize winner Jennifer Doudna. Did I say that right? Doudna? Is that correct? I'm so sorry if it's not. Who won the prize for her work on CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing. Dell will build a supercomputer. It is scheduled to be ready to go into operation next year and be dedicated, unsurprisingly, to genomics research.
Yeah, the U.S. has generally named its supercomputers after Nobel Prize winners in the past. Perlmutter is an example of that. So this is just the latest one. We don't know where it will stand on the ranking of powerful supercomputers. Probably going to be up there in the top 5. But the U.S. has, for a while, China was top of the list pretty regularly, but the U.S. has kind of come back up and dominated them in the past few years. Meta will partner with Anduril Industries to develop VR and AR gear for the military called Eagle Eye. So putting that technology in helmets and glasses and other wearables, the idea to enhance hearing and vision for soldiers. Anduril's autonomy software and Meta's generative models will power the systems. Companies are bidding for an Army contract, but say they're going to make these devices even if they don't win the bid because they think other arms of the military might want them. It also marks the reunion of Anduril founder Palmer Luckey with Meta, which owns Oculus, which Luckey founded. Luckey was fired from Meta in 2017 over political activity, but can now once again work with the technology he created. He told the Wall Street Journal, "I finally got all my toys back."
Well, there you go. Gmail will now use Gemini to automatically summarize emails and cards that will appear at the top of a thread. The summary will show a few bullet points and update as new replies arrive. It will launch for English emails first. The feature can be turned off in settings under smart features and will be off by default in some regions where the law requires it, including the EU, Japan, Switzerland, and the UK.
For really long threads, I could see myself wanting this.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I need it all the time. So.
No.
Amazon released an updated Blink doorbell. You're like, wait, don't they make the Ring doorbell? Why, yes, they do. But they also make a more affordable line called the Blink. And the new Blink doorbell has a wider field of view and better human detection so that you don't get alerts when a car or a cat walks by if you don't want them. It also continues to have one of the longest battery lives for non-wired doorbells. The doorbell with its required sync module sells for $70. And the subscription for cloud storage, which you need if you want that human detection, is $30 a year.
I was surprised. That was very impressive. I thought for sure that I was going to be reading $30 a month, but that's pretty affordable, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not bad. It makes me want to replace my Ring doorbell, honestly, with a Blink, even though it's the same company. I'm like, well, this one has better battery life and a cheaper subscription. I don't subscribe to the Ring doorbell cloud subscription because I don't want to spend that money, but $30 a year, I might be willing to plunk down for.
Well, the Windows 11 at 24H2 update is coming June 10th, but it's available now in preview if you want to try it early. Among the new features are improved settings search, the ability to resume access to OneDrive files across devices, and expanded HDR display settings. There are also a number of features for people with Copilot Plus PCs, including bringing back the option to launch Copilot with Windows CE.
Those are the essentials for today, and now we dive a little deeper.
Well, we mentioned before that NBC Sports will revive legendary NBA announcer Jim Fagan's voice using AI for its 2025 to 26 NBA broadcasts, blending nostalgia with cutting-edge technology. Andy Beach explains a little bit more about how this is going to work.
Andy, thanks again for joining us.
Hey, Tom, great to see you.
So we have heard in the past about James Earl Jones giving the rights to use his voice for future Darth Vaders, even after he's gone. We've heard about various estates being in negotiations for use of voice and likeness in various products. But this is a very interesting one with a sports network saying, we know you love that voice. We've worked with the family. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that it's NBC. I think you and I have talked in the past about how NBC used Al Michaels' voice with generative AI
while he's alive,
the Paris Olympics while he's alive. I think based off the success of that, they've been thinking and exploring more of this, and so they wanted to reach. They wanted to try again, and in this case, they reached out to Jim Fagan's family. And were able to negotiate a deal to allow rights for his voice to be trained and to create a model that would allow them to bring a synthetic Jim Fagan back to work.
It is probably enough for most people to say, okay, they talked to the estate, they talked to the family, they're on board for this. Some people may say, well, but Jim Fagan never signed off on this. Like Jim Fagan, before he died, never had probably the idea that he would need to sign off on this. Are there any ethical concerns about that?
I think because they have the family's permission, they are ethically in the clear because it comes from his estate who effectively represents his rights. It's not dissimilar to if someone just wanted to come along and license clips of him for a new production that was going on.
Okay, but it is a little bit different because these are things he never said, whereas clips are things that he said.
Absolutely right. But apparently they were able to reach a deal. And I do know that I'm seeing more and more stipulations about future uses of voices for training and likenesses for training being part of the conversation. So I think moving forward, you're absolutely right. We're in a weird, awkward time where when he passed away in 2017, we didn't even have a notion that this was going to be a practical thing within, a decade that we were going to be talking about. But now we know that it is possible. So a lot of the deals that are being struck, there are places to carve out either a yes or a no, so that we hear more of it as we move forward in time.
Does this normalize things? Does this make it so that, I know that they've come to a good solution on Saturday Night Live after Don Pardo departed with a member of the cast who sounds somewhat similar, but could they just switch back to simulating Don Pardo? Or are we gonna see that kind of thing happen more often, do you think?
I suspect, particularly for voice work, we will see more and more of this coming in different ways. It is likely some normalization of it. I don't see it as replacing a person in places that it'll get used. In other words, I believe that it is content that was unlikely to have been made, except for the fact that they had this. They
so
just
Darrell Hammond's job is safe.
Absolutely,
okay.
But at the same time, I think it will still be used, even though we will see more of it. I think it will still be used sparingly for specific moments in time. We'll just stop hearing press about it in the same way. Like the first time I really remember press about synthetic voices were a number of documentaries just within the past sort of 5-ish years or so that took a poet's voice and their words and things that they never said out loud and had them speak as if their journal entries as if it was part of it. And it was for dramatic effect as part of their documentary. It made big news because that was sort of the first time we were hearing about it in a use case. So that already, I think, started some of the normalization of it. This is us seeing it now get used not in documentaries or independent productions, but in true, straight up broadcast commercial television. And I think that's probably the difference. But I suspect that it'll still be used to push on those nostalgia buttons. And so it will be used somewhat sparingly. Even in the press release that NBC put out about it, The Verge covered the fact that it'll be used for select title sequences, certain show openings, and specific promotional segments that are part of the NBA coverage that the NBC will have.
Because you don't always want nostalgia. Sometimes you want something to sound new, and they'll need new voices for that. But it does suggest that perhaps the new final goal of a career like this will be to have a voice so iconic that your heirs can profit off it after you're gone.
Absolutely. I think there will be more of that. And, again, his family was already no doubt using clips of him to a certain degree for licensing deals, at least in some small way. This is probably just a bigger version of that coming to reality.
Well, Andy, thanks again for helping us understand this. If folks want to find more of what you do, where should they go?
I write about stuff like this all the time over at abeach.substack.com, abeach.substack.com. It's the intersection of AI and media technology.
Fantastic. Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
If you have feedback about anything that gets brought up on the show, you can get in touch with us on social networks. Have you heard about social networks, everyone? We are at DTNS Show. You can find us at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. If you want some video versions, go to TikTok and YouTube at Daily Tech News Show.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
Did you know that foreign investors are quietly funding lawsuits in American courts through a practice called third-party litigation funding? Shadowy overseas funders are paying to sue American companies in our courts, and they don't pay a dime in U.S. taxes if there is an award or settlement. They profit tax-free from our legal system, while U.S. companies are tied up in court, and American families pay the price, to the tune of $5,000 a year. But there is a solution. A new proposal before Congress would close this loophole and ensure these foreign investors pay taxes, just like the actual plaintiffs have to. It's a common sense move that discourages frivolous and abusive lawsuits and redirects resources back into American jobs, innovation, and growth. Only President Trump and congressional Republicans can deliver this win for America and hold these foreign investors accountable. Contact your lawmakers today and demand they take a stand to end foreign-funded litigation abuse.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Tim is thanking his fellow Tims for sharing.
I know, it's been Tim Fest this week. This Tim writes, I had no idea there was a Tim army of DTNS listeners. I'm intrigued by using Instapaper. I do have an account and use it for some things. I think the lack of tagging will still make me miss the main thing I loved about Pocket. Side note, the other Tim wrote in after the first email and said, I was wrong. They do have tagging. So good news, Tim, from Tim. Anyway, Tim says, I don't have to remember where I filed it or what the article was called, but it fills the need that the RSS reader option didn't quite get for me. Many of the articles I'm saving didn't come from an RSS reader originally, but rather from things like an individual link in the show notes here or on other podcasts.
I might have to try that out. I have not used Instapaper yet, but I forgot
about Instapaper until Tim mentioned it. So that's a good one. Also, over on the live stream yesterday, they read an email from Jim which we couldn't read here because his name isn't Tim, even though it rhymes with it, about a cooking site that like strips out the recipes for you.
Nice.
So you don't have to read through the whole story if you don't want to. So go check that out on DTNS Live as well. But Tim's and Jim's, and even if your name doesn't rhyme, all are welcome to send us your feedback. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whether you're a Tim, a Jim, a Bob, or any other name that isn't any of those, what are you thinking about? Do you have some insight into a story? Well, please share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
Big thanks to Andy and all the Tims for contributing to today's show. And thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. The show is made possible by our patrons. Patreon.com/DTNS. This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show Briefing were created by the following people. Host, producer, and writer Tom Merritt. Host and writer Jason Howell. Co-host Rob Dunwood. Co-host Jen Cutter. Co-host Wentway Dow. Producer Anthony Lemos. Producer Roger Chang. Editor Hammond Chamberlain. Editor Victor Bognot. Science correspondent Dr. Nikki Ackermans. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Dutterding. Our mods, Beatmaster, W. Scottus1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, a.k.a. Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music provided by Martin Bell and Dan Looters. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Tom McNeil. Our guest this week was Andy Beach. And thanks to all the patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Did you know that foreign investors are quietly funding lawsuits in American courts through a practice called third-party litigation funding? Shadowy overseas funders are paying to sue American companies in our courts, and they don't pay a dime in U.S. taxes if there is an award or settlement. They profit tax-free from our legal system, while U.S. companies are tied up in court, and American families pay the price, to the tune of $5,000 a year. But there is a solution. A new proposal before Congress would close this loophole and ensure these foreign investors pay taxes, just like the actual plaintiffs have to. It's a common-sense move that discourages frivolous and abusive lawsuits and redirects resources back into American jobs, innovation, and growth. Only President Trump and congressional Republicans can deliver this win for America and hold these foreign investors accountable. Contact your lawmakers today and demand they take a stand to end foreign-funded litigation abuse.
This is Paige DeSorbo, the co-host of Giggly Squad. I have exciting news. McDonald's has all new McCrispy strips. It's chicken made for dipping. Tender, juicy white meat chicken with a golden brown, peppery breading. It's chicken so good it deserves its own sauce. The creamy chili McCrispy strip dip, a sauce that's creamy, savory, and sweet with a little heat. But it works with any of our sauces. I'm personally a barbecue sauce girl. Even sometimes I like ketchup. I'm just like basic sometimes. But I also need it in addition to any new sauces I'm trying. With a new creamy chili McCrispy strip dip, it's chicken made for dipping, only at McDonald's.